Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure for one of our rides in 2025? We've got a few things on our schedule.
That's right. We'll be attending Big Bragg and also the Bourbon Country Burn.
Big Bragg is in Georgia and Bourbon Country Burn's in Kentucky. Both places are going to be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have teams for both of those events. If you're looking to join us on our team, just send us a message. We'll tell you what to do.
So come on out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good, Adam. How are you?
Doing good.
It's kind of funny. We're actually together today.
Well,
in the great state of Florida.
Oh, heck yeah.
But why are we in the great state of Florida?
Well, there's a golf course about 100 feet that way. I own a timeshare, and there happens to be cigars and whiskey, and we have some VIPs with us.
We do have some VIPs with us, some very special guests.
Well, these better be the most special guests we can have on this show. Otherwise, you and I are in some big trouble.
Big trouble.
I think without further ado, why don't we just introduce these special guests, Lauren and Chasidy.
Hello. Hi, I'm Chasidy.
So for anyone who has listened to our podcast before, these two names might actually sound familiar. But if you do not recognize these names, who are they?
Our girlfriend? Our wives.
Whoa. That went dark, as your daughter would say. That went dark quick.
No, these are our wives that put up with all of the shenanigans and stuff that we do.
So one of the reasons that I asked these ladies to be with us today is because I think one of the biggest questions that you and I get when we go to either Bourbon Country Burn or we've been to Ragbri or Bragg or anything is, what do your wives say when you guys go on these trips? Like leaving them home and do they get mad or get angry?
No, the first question we get is, you guys are actually married? And then they ask, what does your wives think about it?
That's a good question. Can any of you ladies take that or?
Yeah, I can. I'm actually excited, like when you guys go on the trip. When Michael would first start going, I'm not going to lie, it was free time for me and the kids. But for me, it's really, I don't know, fulfilling that he comes home really happy.
Cool. That's cool. What about you?
You know what? I love it.
We actually talked about this earlier.
Okay, perfect.
We are always glad for you guys to come home, but that we definitely like when you guys go in the nicest way because,
you get some alone time.
Yeah.
And plus you guys get alone time and you guys are ready to see us.
Yeah, for sure. When we come home, I remember many a trips I've been on, I couldn't wait to see you and, you and I would go on a date or something when I got home. So,
right. No, I like it because I work midnight. So it's like you're gone. I have the house to myself. I'm not hearing anything. Not that you are completely respectful, though, all the time when you are home. But it is nice to just know that I'm coming home to absolute silence.
I think some of the hardest parts you've told me is on the weekends. Like, so if it's Monday through Friday when you work midnights, I'm at work. And so then there's no interruptions or even I'm moving around. But on the weekends, you said that's been pretty difficult.
I hate working on the weekends because, well, first of all, I feel like I'm going to kick you out of the bed.
You do?
I do. I'm like,
yes.
You know what? Listen, I got to go to bed. Get your clothes, get your stuff. I got to go. But then it's like I don't sleep well either because I can hear things. And it's like you are very quiet, but our house, the walls are thin, and
right.
I can just hear everything. So
hey, listen, if the weather is good, I have no problem going to a golf course and being gone not just for 18 but 36, and I have done that many a time. So
you have.
Here's the biggest problem I've realized in my household: when I go away, every rule that's in place goes right out the window.
Okay.
There's no bedtime. There's ice cream 3 times a day, all this kind of stuff. And the mother figure of the house jumps right in and does it. In fact, I think she's probably the ringleader of it. Let's have more ice cream.
I am definitely the ringleader, but I look at it as a vacation for me and the kids, and we bond. But I do want to say, like, one of the things that I love about it, especially now, is hearing the stories of you two. Just the laughs, and because I know you, Adam, to hear Michael talk about it. Well, Adam did this and we did this. And so now that I know you and then hearing the stories, it kind of comes alive for me. So,
and let's be honest, yesterday you actually had the pleasure, we all had the pleasure of meeting someone that you and I had met on one of the trips before.
Yes, that was exciting. Somebody we met in Georgia on our last ride, Armando.
Yep.
Well, it's a funny story. Do you want me to tell it?
Sure.
So we went golfing yesterday at the said golf course that's 50 yards away. Mm-hmm. They teamed us up with two guys, which we did not know previously. And come to find out, one was a Disney exec. And in case you didn't figure it out, we're at Disney. One was a Disney exec. And so we're out on the course, and Adam says, you know what, I don't mean to talk business with you, but what area are you in? And he says, I'm in the cruise area. And he goes, oh, yeah, we know this guy that retired from there. And you said
Armando.
The name Armando. And he's like, boom, yeah, we know him. We've golfed with him before and all this. And then we took a picture with him and we sent it to him. And then he only lives like an hour away. And he's like, hey, if you guys don't have anything to do, I'll, come to town.
And sure
enough, we had a little dinner or a little lunch and a drink. And it was good to see him.
It was.
What's really interesting, that we have seen people that we met on the Georgia ride in the state of Iowa, the state of Kentucky, and the state of Florida now. So it's kind of cool.
That's and Georgia, of course.
Oh, well, naturally, yes.
What about the cons? Would you say, like, is there anything, like you and I, we had the fridge break like one day before I was going to go to Ragbri.
Yeah, that was huge for sure.
And so, of course, I know that was a con for me. And it was unfortunately during COVID, and there was supply and demand for fridges. We were lucky enough. We found one. We're going to have it delivered. Was that like nerve wracking that I wasn't home for that, or?
Well, yeah, because being a female, I don't like to be alone with anyone in the house.
Right.
Well,
after that one vendor asked you if you were happy in your marriage, I don't blame you. So, that's actually a true story.
It's a true story.
So there was a vendor for a repair. We'll just leave it at that. A repair company in the house. And I asked her, would you have a problem? And she said, no, I'm okay with that. And the first time he came, you said it was fine. But the second time, we kept having the same issue. And he came back one time and he just looked her dead in the face and said, would you say you're happy in your marriage? And she got extremely uncomfortable. And so she said to me, never again. So
there's probably a reason why you were having a reoccurring problem. It's like, oh, I'm not going to fix this. So she'll call me back next week.
That's what I was thinking. And then I think it was the fourth time he was finally coming. I told my mother and father-in-law, I said, listen, I cannot be here. I will be at school, I was in nursing school during the time. I said, is there any way that you two can both be here together? And you had to work.
Yep.
And so they did. And then guess what?
No more problems.
No more problems.
So wow. It was definitely a weird, kind of a weird thing. So I guess one of the bigger questions I would have is, yes, your husbands go on these cycling trips, and we come home with lots and lots of stories, and we've shared them and we laugh about them. And thankfully, we don't have a lot of negative stories to tell. Most of them are really positive. What about when we said that we were going to start a podcast? Did you think to yourself, I'm just curious if you guys don't mind to share.
What did you really think?
For me, at first, I was like, oh, that's cool. But I don't think I really had the whole concept of like what exactly you guys would be doing or how much work. I was surprised at how much time it takes each week for you guys and for Michael to go down to his office and do what he does, for the podcast. But overall, it's like, for me, really exciting to see Michael so excited about something and to watch it growing and all of that. But at first I really was like, had no idea like what it took. So
neither did we.
No, neither did we. As a matter of fact, I call him my uncle. He's your uncle, but through marriage, a gentleman named Don. And he said to me, he said, Michael is so smart and he knew all those facts and figures. And I didn't want to say, well, actually the night before we had stayed up for who knows how many hours looking up all these facts and figures and doing this to make the show sound, clear. But you do have a lot of information. I don't mean by that by any means. Okay. But some of the pieces that he had given you credit for, I'm like, well, actually, we both looked that up on Google and the wonderful search engines. But it does take a lot of work. I was surprised, but it is exciting for me too. And you've been very supportive, Lauren. I mean, right. Do you enjoy to listen to the shows or?
I do, especially when I'm home cleaning. That's like my time to listen to podcasts. And so
it's between me and some of your crime stories. I'm sure the crime stories win over, and then your radio station that you like, but maybe I get 10% of airplay.
You do.
Okay, cool. Good enough. I'll take it. Fair enough. Lauren, if you're okay, can we tell the 2016 RAGBRAI story? I'll start it off for you, but
okay.
All right. So as many of you know, when you start dating somebody and things are going to go well, I mean, we've almost been married 7 years now. So we were dating, we were hot and heavy. Things are going good. We love each other. Well, we met in February and I had already signed up for RAGBRAI. And so, of course, we're going to go to RAGBRAI and I'm going to meet you, sir. Mm-hmm. And we went with some of our other friends, Ernie and Joe. And I was like, okay, well, I'll stay in touch with you as much as I can. I promise. And a little did I know that there would be hardly no cell phone service out there. And so, RAGBRAI has an app. And at that time, they were doing push notifications to the app. And I honestly can't speak if they have push notifications now. But at the time, unfortunately, the sad part is a gentleman was unfortunately killed. And what RAGBRAI did was they...
On the first day.
On the very first day. And RAGBRAI put this push notification out that said, man dies at RAGBRAI. And they don't say what state he's from. They don't say, ethnicity. They don't say anything by this fashion or form. They just say, man dies at RAGBRAI. Well, before I had left, we helped Lauren download the app. And Lauren said, okay, I'll pay attention. I can see your maps and see where you are and the weather and stuff. So little did I know, we're pedaling down the road and Lauren gets a push notification. And what did the push notification say?
I think it said that like man dies at RAGBRAI.
And so you then begin texting me. On behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
Right. I just said, at first I'm like, hey, are you okay? Just checking with you. And then, I don't know, maybe like half an hour later, I'm like, all right, it's weird. I haven't heard from you. But, because I think this was pretty early in the morning.
It was.
Like around 5:36.
Yeah, it was dark.
Yeah. And so I just, throughout the day, I just kept saying like, finally, I'm just like, babe, please, like, I'm really, really like scared, what's going on? Why, I'm just was freaking out. Even my mom at the time, she's like, Lauren, you need to calm down. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure everything's fine. So I just, for hours, texting him on and off. I mean, ridiculous. And by the end of it, I'm just like, you know what? My last text message to you was, I'm just going to assume you're dead. And that's where I left it.
So that was... and a little backstory was RAGBRAI had started in Glenwood, Iowa, and it was not exactly on the border. And where it was a little, I think it was 5 or 6 miles east of the border. Forgive me, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, east of the river.
East of the river. And what they had done is they had actually trucked in water so you could do a tire dip. And for those of you who've never been to RAGBRAI, first of all, RAGBRAI stands for Register's Annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. The idea is you dip your rear tire in the Missouri and your front tire in the Mississippi, symbolizing that you crossed the state on your bicycle. Well, what they did is they actually trucked in river water in a dunk tank for those of you who want to dip your water in a safe manner. Unfortunately, this person that we're speaking of was decided that he was going to ride to the river. I regret to say that he was killed coming back in the dark. He was not being able to, he wasn't viewed. It turns out that the gentleman was from Florida, and it turns out that the gentleman was also African American, but they never put those facts in there. So I get into Shenandoah, and I get service, and my phone is singing like a canary. love you, miss you, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. And
You're
literally
dead.
in the last message I get, because remember the first one chronologically comes in first, the last one I got is, I'm going to assume you're dead. And so we come back to the park. And at that time, you and I were using a different charter.
Yep.
And I come back to the park and I go, great. My girlfriend at the time, my girlfriend thinks I'm dead. And everyone just kind of like looks at me and says, well, why would you think she's dead? Well, I then tell the story how Ragbri put that out. And everyone was like, you got to be kidding me. They didn't put any facts, figures. I said, no, they didn't. So everyone's whipping out their phone, I don't know, maybe to spot check me. And everyone's now having sympathy for you, Lauren, thinking, oh my gosh, how horrible would that be? Because they had, they didn't even know about the app. So anyways,
then you called Lauren, and she was in a date with Matt at that point in time because you were deceased.
That's right. Yeah, she had given up that quickly.
Yep. Okay, forget it.
Yeah.
Move on to the next guy.
That's right. So
that didn't work out.
So no, and then the worst part is Shenandoah didn't have really good cell phone service. I was getting spotty service, but remember the public library. We had all gone to dinner to the Catholic church and had the spaghetti dinner. And I said, all right, guys, I'll see you later. I'm going to talk to Lauren. So what would happen is it had this revolving Wi-Fi signal. I could talk to you for about 8 minutes and then we'd get cut off. And then I felt like I was in prison. I'd put another quarter in, then I would talk to her another 8 minutes, another 8 minutes. And for some reason, and everyone would be on their phone with their family going, I don't know, this thing keeps cutting off. But there was something that was happening where it was dropping everybody. So I don't know if someone was in there going, pulling the plug. So
somebody coming around rapping on the thing. Hey, time's up. Turn them off.
It's like when I was in military school. We had bank of 6 payphones, and everyone was like, "All right, come on, I got to go home." So, now, Lauren, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you were actually our support driver in 2018, and I understand you actually, Chasidy, you were part of the family trip when you went across Nebraska.
Yes.
Now, the second time we went across Nebraska.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Lauren, when I ask you now if you want to go to Ragbri, I don't think you can say no fast enough.
You are correct, sir.
But did you have a good time when you went?
I did. I mean, I liked being with you. I liked meeting Michael. I liked, seeing parts of Iowa. I'm trying to think. I'm grasping here.
Here's the problem. And I've told you this many a time. She was new to cycling.
Right.
Didn't know anything about these state rides other than what, other than what you had told her. We did not really set the expectations very well for her. So we did her a complete injustice. And, you just say, hey, all you got to do is just drive your car from this point to this point and wait for us. And we'll show up a few hours later and everything is great. But you've got to use this assigned route and, all this other stuff. And there'll be, 20,000 people or more. And it's just this big circus. And so that was really an injustice that we did.
Can I say that until you do one, you don't really grasp like how it unfolds and how it works? Because you had explained it, going from city to city and, that people would be here waiting with drinks and this, but like until you do it, it doesn't click how it is. So I think it's... I
would agree with that because what happened is in 2015, our friend Joe and I, we live in the same town, and we were talking about going to Ragbri, and I remember calling you and Ernie and saying, "Hey, can we do a conference call?" And I remember us asking you questions that at the time, now that I've done these, you probably thought were semi-silly. But at the same time, I remember saying, "Hey, what about this? What about bicycle locks? What about this time?" And I agree with you. Until you go out there and you see this moving circus, you have no clue. So, you don't want to go back?
No, definitely not. No, camping is not for me. Taking showers in a, I don't know.
It was a semi-truck. Semi-truck.
Semi-truck. Oh, that was interesting.
Now, you got lucky because there were no shower lines for you because you were always in early.
This is true, but it was still...
Not your bag of tricks.
Yeah, it's not ideal. But, yeah, I'm not a big camper either.
That's okay. So. You did well. And, I told the story earlier this weekend where I sort of made a mistake. I knew that the century day, I knew how long it took to do a century, but I didn't convey that really well to you. And so it was a hot day and you were watching thousands of cyclists come in all day long.
Right.
And then of course, what happened was I came in and you said, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "Well, I've been on my bike in the middle of Iowa." But at that moment, I know that was a little bit frustrating for you. So, Chasidy, what about you? Has Michael ever missed anything while being on the road? Or?
Nope.
So, as a matter of fact, last year he came and he was like, "Chasidy, do you care if I do the Georgia ride? It's in June." And I said, "Well, as long as it's not on our anniversary." And he goes, "Well, as a matter of fact," he goes, "it's not technically, I'll be coming in that day." And I was like, I work nights and it would have been a day I worked anyway. I was like, "That's fine, just go." But, you still want your husband there for your anniversary. So it was really sweet. He put together a photo book, and along the way he had a sign, and he took pictures through the whole week to remember and show that he was thinking of me. And where was it? You guys were at the restaurant?
We were at a malt shop out. It was like a malt shop, burger shop.
Perry.
And
it was
Perry, Georgia.
Yes.
And so Michael had said, "I need to do something for my anniversary." And I said, "I got it." Now, let's be honest. Cycling Men of Leisure is known to have sometimes a few whiskeys. I had a few whiskeys, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I literally stood up in this restaurant, and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I need a favor. It's my friend's anniversary. I'm going to get my phone. Can we record it?" And not only one, not only two, but the entire restaurant.
Whole place.
"Happy anniversary, Chas."
So I was a little bit surprised. I was like, "Oh, look at him," because he's not normally one to bring attention to himself in any way. So that was really sweet.
But I carted that sign for miles and miles every day saying happy, anniversary, Chas.
But it paid off because now I don't care if you go again.
Well, there you go. Of course, she also got a nice, trip to New Orleans too. So, that might have helped.
So
No, I'm just kidding. But what were you going to say,
no, I
Lauren?
was going to say, so where are we going on ours?
Well, our anniversary is coming up very shortly. So I already have a few surprises.
She wants to go to New Orleans, just in case.
She wants to go with her
with my
sister.
sister.
I know that's her dream to go with her sister. I would actually feel guilty, and that would seem cold because I know that they both talked about that many times. Although, if we all went, then I wouldn't feel guilty. But of course, I'm sure you went the sisters trip.
Yep, I would never go there without her first.
What if we took a cruise out of there?
No.
Okay.
You technically got to go pretty much through the city. I mean,
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Well, I just want to thank both you ladies for being along. We just wanted to introduce our listeners. Coming up, we actually released a show today, which is cool.
Yes, we did.
And so,
while we were golfing, the show was released, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, and that's the fun part of the podcast, to be able to say, okay, well, we released at 4 p.m. and we knew it was 4 p.m. and both of us whipped out our phones and it is now live. So,
but what was really cool last week is we actually are starting to get some listeners from Russia.
We do have,
and I'm wondering, is Putin listening to our podcast? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Listen, I'm not allowed to speak on that, but
what these cycling men of leisure.
There's a picture. That's how we should change our logo. Like how Putin had his shirt off, and that's how we. Not me, by the way. I would not fit the bill for that. You don't want this guy, but we should find somebody with no shirt on. Like a black. Whatever. But that I don't think you want me doing that. So we could find somebody, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find Pedro.
Oh,
Pedro.
We could find your Pedro. So do you want to tell the story of old Pedro?
Pedro, that's my wife's boyfriend that I've created. So anytime something comes up, I'm like, oh, going to Pedro. She goes on cruises with her girlfriends and stuff. I go, oh, yeah. Pedro's going to be on that cruise, isn't he? And on the last cruise, actually one of the crew members or whatever, his name was Pedro. And so she got a picture of him, the name tag, and said, Pedro, here's Pedro. So it's kind of our personal joke.
You didn't find that a little suspicious, huh?
I found it very suspicious, but... whatever.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Well, before we close it up, ladies, would you like to add anything? Anything to add or anything to say?
No, that I'm very thankful, that you guys are doing this, because now I've got to meet Lauren.
Aw,
and
thank
it's been
you.
a great weekend,
It has
and
been.
a new friend.
Oh,
And
thank you.
so, yeah.
Same. No, it's been wonderful.
And for those of you who do not know, this is actually, of all of our crazy shenanigans,
Yes.
this is the first time that the wives have physically got to meet in person. They've
Yes.
messaged each other and probably laughed back and forth on text messages, groups, and stuff like that, but this is the first time that they got to meet in person. So, well, cool. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here. I really do
Yes,
appreciate it.
definitely appreciate it. I know it's, not what you wanted to do this weekend. Hey, let's do a podcast. All right.
I know when we were leaving Detroit, Lauren said, "What is that?" I said, "That's all the podcast." Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
that thing.
Well, Michael, would you have anything to add?
The only thing I would have to add is, what do I always say, ladies?
It's a great day for a bike ride.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please share the podcast or tell a friend about it.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.